Hey, welcome to Three Generations. I'm Julia, the Gen Xer of the group, and I'm here with Jess, our millennial, and Marie, our boomer.
We're three friends who see the world a little differently, and we're bringing those perspectives to the table on all sorts of topics.
From the everyday to the deep and meaningful, we're here to chat, laugh, and sometimes even argue, but always with a lot of heart.
So, whether you're sipping coffee, cruising in your car, or just chilling at home, we invite you to join us for this casual, no judgment zone.
And we're on YouTube and Spotify, which I don't use, but I'm learning. So grab your favorite beverage, settle in, and let's get into it.
Yeah, girl.
Well, we had such a good time talking about friendship, which is kind of interesting. We're friends talking about friendship.
Right.
And we just wanted to dive into that a little bit more. We didn't know the depth of that topic until we really got into it. And I was thinking since our last discussion about seasonal friends. And I've been in some seasonal relationships, which I didn't know were seasonal. And then the mourning process after that, when you realize, no, this person isn't like your long-term friend. It lasted for a season. I'll give you a great example. I was in college, and there was another person there that was just tracking with me. We just jived, and we had the same ambition towards just being the best in our field. And we would hang out every day and just talk. And I thought this was one of those friendships that were going to last for a while. And then we graduated, and that's it. It was like over almost like immediately like that.
Wow.
It just didn't last beyond that. Like,
Did you try to call or anything?
yeah,
like that?
absolutely. I was carrying on like the way that we always did. Now it was different, having to go to the same, being at the because we had classes, being at least having that regularity of always seeing each other on certain days and times because we were attending the class, right? And afterward, when that time was over, and I got a job, and I'm just still going like, hey, are we going to go out to, dinner like we normally do? And, you reach out a couple of times, and it felt a little cold on the other end.
Wow.
And then it was like, it almost just like evaporated.
Wow.
And so then it was like mourning the loss of like, oh, I thought this was more
Right.
than it really was. And then soon after that, not soon after that, but like some time after that, I had a major life event where my father almost died. He had a major cardiac event, and so there were people around in my life who I considered like close friends, and I sort of expected that support. What can I do? And just being all the things that to me in that time and my
Right.
family. And they were nowhere to be seen.
Yeah.
And then there were people that were more like a casual, this kind of acquaintance field. And they were much more supportive. It just surprised the heck out of me.
Yeah.
So I find that sometimes life events test the friendship.
Yes. That's so true. That's so true. Because when you really go through those tough times where you're having really tough times, the true people that really care about you are the ones that show up. Like, especially with losses. Like, I know this sounds crazy, but when I lost my dog, and I had her for 14 years, I got her when I was 18, and she was with me through the stuff. And I lost her about a month and a half shy of her 14th birthday. And when I tell you the amount of people, like people that I thought that I was very tight with, like you were saying, I thought this was, forever. We're always going to be really tight. And it ended up being just a season. And these people that I was really close with knew how important my dog was to me. Like, me and my husband don't have kids. And when that little girl was like, oh, I cherished her so much. I still do. And the people that I thought would come and be like, hey, send me a text, get a hold of me, whatever, didn't come at all. And the people that I know, like, okay, this is my circle. Like, Jules, you sent me something. Marie, you obviously called me every single day, and you were like, hey, like checking up on me. There was a couple of people that sent me cards in the mail, and I was just like, thank you so much. But it shows me where I really need to invest, where it's important to invest versus what I thought I should have been investing in. So it's totally true. It's 110% true. My grandfather passed away. The people that invested in, it was the same people pretty much. Hey, so sorry for, it was the same people that got a hold of me. So it's one of those things where it's like, okay, I know that these are relationships that are worth investing, because that's part of where I kind of screwed it up on my end. Was I was like, okay, these are the relationships that I need to worry about and invest in just as much as they invest into me. And these relationships over here that didn't come up through those hard times are the ones that I should probably start walking away from.
Yeah, and I don't think it's mostly walking away from them just as
Right.
we just put them in a different category.
Yes.
We don't have that expectation of them anymore.
Yeah.
And I think that's more, yeah, I have had relationships for a season because I've moved so much.
Yeah.
And I'm probably on the worst friendship side because,
Just confess.
yeah, people stay in contact with me. And, I've been back from North Carolina for years, and I still have the one friend. And but I'm that person, like, okay, weather-wise now, I'm like texting her, is everything okay?
Right.
But the daily, I'm not, no. I don't do it. I don't do it. She, her and her husband have come up. They visit.
Right.
And I'm grateful. I love it when they're here. But I'm not that good.
I'm kind of bad at that stuff too.
And keeping in touch.
Yeah. Like
Just
I've got
to
to
stay in touch.
Yeah. I've got a best friend that she was just, me and her just hit it off. We can sit in a coffee shop for 4 hours and the people will be sitting there like, I want to close. You know what I mean? And we're just like, oh my God. Yeah. And we're just going off in tangents and just having a blast. And we even do that on the phone because she moved to another state and we can just pick up. And I got to tell you, I screwed up. She texted me this week. And she was like, oh my goodness, I miss you. I love you. And I was like, I miss you. I love you too. And she was like, I was like, we got to FaceTime soon. And she was like, I've got time this weekend. And I totally forgot to text her back. And I did not think about it until you just said
I know.
Guess what she's going to do after this?
I am absolutely going to pick up my phone and text her because she's very important to me. She is very valuable to me. And I was just like, oh, I'm dropping the ball.
Yeah, well, I think it's difficult when you move to different areas, different states.
Yeah.
So you don't have the physical contact. Not that that's an excuse.
Right.
But I know, I own up to it. Like, my friend in North Carolina, like, she knows.
Right.
She's like, okay, because I'm calling you now because you haven't called me.
Yes.
And I go, you're right. Yes. Such a bad friend. She goes, but I love you anyway.
It's unconditional love.
Yeah.
I'm the oddball here because I feel like I'm pretty good about checking in and because I remember things and but lately I've not relied on my own memory. I just put it in my calendar. Like I know I have a friend coming up who's, I do. I have a friend coming up she's going to be having her first wedding anniversary without her husband. Like I'll put details like that because that's like I gotta make sure I reach out. I'll do stuff like that, but this is not for everybody.
Right.
It's for a reserved, few of like details like that. And I just wanted to bring back to your other point, Jess, that it's important that when people reach out or are involved, it's not because it's something that is important, that they find, oh yeah, this is important to them. It's how it's important to you. So for example, like if people were like, well, she just lost a dog, it's just a dog. If they had that attitude and then they adjusted their expectation of how they were going to react to it, that's wrong. They need to understand how you felt about that loyal dog and what that dog meant to you.
Yeah.
It's a different consideration than trying to go, well, it's not a child. No, it's a companion that was very, very important to you. It's completely different, so you can't judge it, differently like that. Like, and on the other side of it, you guys know it's no secret for people that know me. I am a huge fan of Lady C. Now, is that in the grand scheme of things important to most people? Absolutely not. Most people don't even know who Lady C is. But you guys know when she gives me a shout out on her show, it makes me so darn happy.
Yes.
And you guys celebrate with me. Because you know it's important to me.
Important to
it's
you.
not like you find that fact
Right.
important, So just to make sure, like, I just want to make that clear.
And I think that's what it is when you consider friendship. It's you take the good, the bad, and the ugly of the person, because we do share secrets. We do share our feelings. So it needs to be, that should be our first consideration. Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing with you talking about losing your dog. You know how I feel about pets. I have a place for them.
Yeah.
But I still,
Right.
I love animals as far as animals go.
Right.
That would not be important to me,
Right.
but it was important to you,
Right.
And so I agree with Julia, you take what's important to that person.
Right.
It has nothing to do with how you feel
Yeah.
about something,
100%.
and but I think it's harder for people today to get close to each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. And something, and maybe I just love some suggestions because I know I'm not there. I think I'm terrible at mourning losses of friendships, like even the ones I mentioned before. Because when that person turns out to be like a seasonal friend, or a life test came and they're not really a friend that you, in the way that you regarded them to be, that they need to be, gone to another category or not, or released as a friend altogether, the first thing I do is I beat myself up because I feel like I lacked judgment, or I was deficient somehow. Like I don't know. I am still trying to find like a healthy way of like mourning that, because it needs to be mourned. You can't just stuff it down and like pretend it didn't hurt or pretend it didn't exist.
Yeah. That's very true. And it's important to look at it in a healthy way, like you were just saying too, because you were saying like, is it my fault? Am I the reason why this breakdown happened? And there was a part of me that felt that with the friend that I talked about last week, right? Mm-hmm. I stopped and questioned. I was like, what if I did text them back? What if I did text them when they, what if that's on me? But then at the same time, I kind of stopped and remembered, like, a lot of people know how crazy my schedule is, and they know if I don't answer back to a text, they call me. Like, they will pick up the phone and call me and like, hey, I just want to make sure, like, Marie, you've texted me before, and then you've sent me like a voice memo saying, hey, I just want to touch base and make sure you remember this, because you know that I'm like scatterbrained sometimes. So it's like you take that into consideration when you're communicating with me if I don't get back. My sister's the same way. She'll text me something, and if I don't answer her, she'll text me again, and I'll be like, oh, crap. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'll be like, because she knows me. So it's one of those things where I stopped and I was like, no, if this person really knew, because they knew what was going on. They knew I was working 50, 60 hours a week, flip-flopping days to nights, that I was on a 7-day-a-week schedule. They knew this, but they still like just held on to this offense of something that I did wrong.
Yeah, but I think too, Jules, to that effect, I think, and we all, we know it, we may see it or know it, but we don't admit it. You can see that slowly but surely that separation is coming. You have less communication, you have less physical contact, and you can see that it's making
It's
the
changing.
separation. But when it happens, it's like, okay, what's happening here right now? And I think when you mourn about anything, the first thing you look at is, do I have any regrets? Would I have done something different? And I think you look at it that way, and then you be kind to yourself.
Yeah.
And say, no, you know what? I did my part.
Yeah.
I did my part.
Yeah. And I think you did your part, Jules. From the way you explained it, you reached out multiple times. You were like, hey, the door's open. The door's open on my end whenever you want to swing through, and it's like you can't argue with a closed door. So I think that's what's more important than anything is you were like, hey, I'm still here. And if she ever reached out to you again, would you be like, hey, what's up? Would you ever do that again? Or do you think that it would be like I don't know if I would do that?
I think I would treat it like I've said before in the previous episode, there are consequences. So she would be definitely, because there's that level of the trust
Yeah.
is
Broken.
well, not broken, but I mean, like, there's a level of trust when you're intimately friends with someone.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't go, okay, she goes, no, let me just tell you what's going on with me intimately. She would be like, I'd be very pleasant, and she'd be at arm's length. Great to hear from you.
Yes.
How are you doing?
Yes.
But we wouldn't go far. It's almost like starting over a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
You got to build that up. But I would be more inwardly, I think, guarded.
Yeah.
Because I can't let myself go too far and
Right.
invest
Get hurt
into this.
again.
Right, because it might just go away just as quickly as it went away
Yeah.
before.
Yes. And the possibility is great that would happen.
I mean, when we had a friendship, it was great. It was nice to have a friend to walk me through that season where I was in school again, and a person that you could relate to. There was a value there.
Yeah.
There was a way there's a way that I would honor that, but no, I don't think I'd go deep into it.
Yeah, I feel like I would feel the same way. And mostly because now I have our friendships that we all have with each other, and even in the people that aren't here that we have a tighter group with. Having that to, what's the word I want to use, compare to other friendships that I've had, it's night and day difference how much I invested into it. Well, even with my I still count my other friend that moved to another state in that same category, but there's so many other friendships that I've had throughout my entire life where that wouldn't hold a candle to the friendships that I have now. And again, it's like you said, Marie, super small group. Like we all have a very small group of people that we're tight with, that we're vulnerable with, but the past relationships that I had, like, I don't know how yours was when you were in college, they don't hold a candle to how healthy the friendships and great the friendships that I have today.
Well, you're not the same person that you were even when our friendship started. None of us are.
True.
But we've been able to grow together, and you almost don't feel it. You're just growing and flowing. I feel like when we started our friendship, I was much more impulsive, and then just over time, I've changed and grown. But yet we remained friends because Marie's different too. Everybody's different in our friendship, but we've been able to grow together. So I'm also not the same person, definitely not the same person I was when I was going to school with that particular friend. Which leads me to a question, like, what do you expect from friendships? Like, what makes a good friend?
Somebody that I can just sit back and just have a conversation with like this. Because I feel like most of the time, Marie, throw in there for me because I know you'll be able to, because we've had this conversation before. There's more times than not where I am pouring in to people more than they're pouring into me. Does that make sense? So there is more times where, whether it's a leadership thing, whether it's they need something, whether it's my family or something like that, and that's all fine. You know what I mean? I love my family, but I feel like there's more times than not where I would always end up pouring into somebody. Like if I was just trying to have a casual conversation and it would turn into me like guiding them through a life situation, or like, hey, what do you think about, how should I do this? What should I do about this? What does this mean? I feel like more times than not, that's what all of my conversations would turn into. But with you guys, it's not like that. We're always pouring into each other. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, so there's not like an uneven, like one cuff's, at a quarter and the other one's at 3/4. Like we're always pouring equal amounts into each other, where we have that balance where we can just have a conversation. Like, what are you reading right now? Like, oh, that's awesome. That's great. Like, what'd you have for dinner today? Like just being able to have casual conversation with zero expectations, but also having that trust where I can get on that group chat and be like, guys, this just went down. I need your support. Like that is having both of those. And then also I like being relied on in that way as well. Does that make sense? So it's like even on even ground, all 360.
Yeah, I think a friend to me, I think the biggest thing, number one, would be willing to listen. Okay, willing to listen and a shoulder to cry on.
Yeah.
Life is tough.
Yeah.
We have decisions every day that pulls us in all different kinds of directions. And then the third thing would be that the same applies to the other person, that I'm there to listen for them.
Yeah.
I'm there to be a shoulder for them. Just like you said, Julia, in the good times and in the bad times, to encourage you and say, because you like Mrs. C, it's like, wow, Jules, that's great. She recognized you. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Because it's important to you. Okay. But by the same token, driving home from the hospital 5-6 years ago, and I reached out because I couldn't do one more minute. Mm-hmm. And everybody reacted. We've got you. We care about you. What can I do? How can I help you? You listened. You listened to me cry. You listened to me, the pain I was feeling, and you acknowledged it. That's what a friend is. That's what a friend is. When you need them the most, they're there. What more could you ask for?
Right.
And I need to stop being so vulnerable on this podcast.
She's like, I got an image to keep up. I am the general.
Okay, yeah, you're still a tough lady. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yes, but it's
Gosh, I feel
it's
it.
so true. Like, there's a lot of times where I feel like all of us are big givers, right? And I feel like there's a lot of times where we're giving, and it's like you just said, Marie. There's times where it's like, I need somebody to give to me right now, and it's like that. It's like, I feel like in our group of friends where it's like, I can reach out and say, I need this.
Yes.
I need this right now. Like, same thing as me. I had a horrible health scare in the end of the year. And the first thing that I wanted to do when I woke up, I can't even remember what time it was. It was absurdly early in the morning, though. I remember that. And I got on that group chat and I was like, guys, this is what's going on because I needed you guys. You know what I mean? No matter how much, Jesus was with me, Holy Spirit was with me, Holy Spirit's my comforter, but I still needed you guys to hold me up. And it's just like you said, Marie, it's that perfect balance of I'm going to pour into you just as much as you're going to pour into me.
I think I'm hearing, like if you were to put it in one word, I think I'm hearing Marie say that the number one thing with her is trust. That the number one with you is reliability.
Yeah.
And for me, the number one thing is truth.
Ooh.
Like I expect my friends to tell me the truth.
Yeah.
Yes, you look fat in that. You're growing the wrong way. I don't think this is good for you. I don't like this for you. You're wrong.
That's a big one.
You know what I mean? Like just the
Yes.
ability to just say that I care about you too much to let you go on like this.
Yeah.
Like that's a huge one for me.
100%.
And by the way, I'm not saying that any of those things that I've listed, it's my perception of what's important to you, but I'm not saying that's the all be all. I think that there's much more characteristics.
No, but
if
I
would
think it
just-
was perfect. I
Yes.
think it was a great explanation. But yeah, that's awesome. How different are the perspectives on it, though? But we can all still relate to it in the same way, even with all the different perspectives.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
I just think that's awesome.
Yeah, like I would be heartbroken if like I was just going on and had something on my blind spot and then realized that you had an opinion about it. You could have said something. You could have stopped me. You could have just, even if I chose not to do anything, you could have put something out there and then you didn't. And I think because sometimes people were like way too polite or just feel like, well, it's not my place to say,
That, to me, is true love.
Yeah.
Because if I don't have somebody that's willing to come forward and tell me, like you just said, no, you're wrong, I need that. Because in my eyes, if you know that that's wrong and you don't feel comfortable telling me, or you're like, it's like you don't really care about me, like making sure I've got the right mindset, because I do not have it all together. You know what I mean? Like I need those different, I love it, especially like Marie, she'll come up, no, Jess, you're wrong. And I'll be like, what do you mean? And I'm like, explain it to me, sell it to me. And I'm literally that way. I'm like, I need you to sell this to me like you're trying to sell me a wash machine right now. I need to understand it. Like, I'm not going to shut you down, but I want to understand it. And more times than not, I'm like, hey, I did not look at it that way.
Yeah, I think it's important. I mean, and it's how you approach, you know. I mean, and you've heard me say it before, like, are you sure you want
Yes.
to go in that direction? And so that leaves the door open
Right.
for whether or not the person wants to hear it from you.
Right.
That's the way I look at it. Like, you know, if you just say to me, yes, I've made up my mind, and I'm thinking, okay, whatever I tell her is she's not gonna
tunnel
receive
vision.
it.
Yeah.
She's not gonna receive it. But if you say to me, why? Do you think that's not a good decision?
Yeah.
And then I will say, you know, but I think that I agree with that. I agree with that 100%
Yeah.
as far as truth. And I don't think any of these three things that we've talked about is a high expectation. I think that's the norm.
Yeah. But it's what you value.
You should value
Yeah.
those items from a
Right.
friend.
But is going back to what we talked about, you said earlier, Marie, I think in today's times, it's so much harder to have that deep relationship because everything's just like a drive-through, instant gratification, hi bye. Like there's not those deep connections like we have now.
Well, that's a lot of our problems in society, which
Yeah.
we're going to talk about in other episodes. Mental health,
Yeah.
depression,
Yeah.
all those kinds of things, how they're so prevalent in today's time. And I think that this conversation that we've had over the last couple of weeks leads into that.
Yeah. Absolutely. What do you think, Jules?
I think you're right. I think that, boundaries, all of it. This is a really great conversation. I'd love to hear what our listeners have to say,
Yes.
their opinions on it. Let us know what you think.
Absolutely. We want to hear from you guys. We'd love to hear from you. Jules is amazing at I tell you what, Jules is the planner of the group. I'm not. I'm just
Amen.
like, yo, I'm going to show up. Y'all let me know what I need to do. Like that's I'm that person.
We all have our role.
Yes, we do. We all have our role. And Jules will check everything. And it's so amazing how she's been able to pull all this stuff together for us. And I would love for you guys, we would all love for you guys to be able to send us in. What are your thoughts? What are your comments? What do you think? What do you agree with? What do you disagree with? We want to know. We want to hear from you.
Yes.
Do you got that email, Jules?
Yeah, it's podcast3generations@gmail.com. You can also leave us a comment, whether you're listening to us on Spotify or YouTube. We will engage and we look forward to hear from you. Again, from Jess, Julie, and Marie, thanks for listening to 3 Generations, and we'll see you next time.